What is up, my fish people? My name is Aaron. This is Aaron's Aquatics, and today we are going to ship some shrimp. This is my first shipment ever of my Bloody Mary shrimp. I'm really excited to be sending these to my good friend Bare Necessities. Go check him out. He's got an awesome YouTube channel. But that said, let's go ahead and jump right into the supplies required to ship some shrimp. So first up, you're going to need at least a small box that you can get from USPS for free. You can literally walk in, grab a box, and walk out. They're hedging on you actually just spending the money on the shipment itself rather than the box. So there's that. Next, you're going to need some rubber bands. You may not see it in this video because I was still waiting for it from Amazon, but for breather bags, you're going to need to tie them off with a few rubber bands. Moving on, if you don't have styrofoam boxes in your area or easily accessible, or if they're not as affordable, you can always go to your local hobby shop and pick up styrofoam planks. These things you have to cut to form. It's really messy, but you know, definitely something that can be cheaper in the long run. The next thing that you're going to want to get is going to be some cold pack of a kind. These are chemically induced. These are just a couple bucks from Walmart. It depends really on where you live. I live in Houston, Texas. It is 93 outside right now. Definitely gonna 100% want these, but you know, you gotta be careful on how you use them. So for the rest of the installation, I'm gonna be using newspaper, specifically free Chinese newspapers. You can get these at your local Chinese grocery store. They're usually outside, they're by the ton. I don't know why this one's talking about Trump, but you know, I mean, love, hate, whatever, it's still free. So once you've gathered your supplies, you're gonna have to get your box ready. And this is more than just setting up your box through the magic of YouTube. It's also setting up your styrofoam. The styrofoam itself needs to be cut to specific lengths to whatever box that you get. Now, I can't give you the exact measurements, but it's gonna be really up to you on how you're gonna wanna set this up. You're gonna wanna at least get the bottom, all four sides, as well as the underside or the top, I'm just gonna call it the top from now on, of your box. So once that's ready, what you can do is you can begin cutting your styrofoam to size. Make sure you don't do it on your counter, a table, or any kind of surface that you want to get damaged in case you're using an X-Acto knife. In this case, I'm doing it right on top of Trump's face because you know what? I mean, it should be hard enough for me to prevent any damage to my table. So once you've cut the initial side of your box, you should be able to measure out the other 4 or 5 sides without too much difficulty. Once you've completed that, go ahead and take a small break because if you look around, if you're cutting with an X-Acto knife, there's going to be pieces of this styrofoam everywhere. Your cat's going to be looking at you being like, hey, I want to play with this stuff and move it around so a week from now you can find it later somewhere by your couch. But he's okay. He's a good cat. He's a good boy. Once you've created all sides of your box, go ahead and start fitting them to your box. Now, it's not going to be an exact science. Some of these pieces will be longer than others. If that's the case, just cut them down to size again. Now, I had to do that myself in here. I didn't really account for the extra ½ inch. That would be when the other, like the left and the right side were in. But besides that, it's a really simple process. Just make sure not to break it or you have to go back to your hobby center and buy some more. Luckily, I didn't have to do that. Okay, so we have created our box. We've set up our styrofoam insulation. The next part is going to be actually creating the interior insulation, which in this case, I'm using newspaper. One thing that you can do, it's not 100% necessary, is to just cut up a bunch of pieces of newspaper, crumple them a little bit, and put them on the inside. The next step of this process is capturing and bagging your shrimp. In my case, I have a nice little hang on the back hospital tank, which I use for quarantine as well as for temporary holding. I've got a little bit of my Rotala Walichi inside of here just so that the shrimp can hold on to something. That will also be going into my bag. But right now, what I want to do is fill it with just a little bit of water, just enough to keep the shrimp in and to use for the actual bags themselves. Now, for those of you who watched my last video, which was about creating a shrimp trap, I've gone ahead and let this trap sit in here for a good amount of time, probably about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Well, you know what? This trap worked exceedingly well. I had to be really careful. I didn't really thought about how I'm gonna take it out and then get the shrimp in there, but look at all of them. They're everywhere. The trap works so well. The biggest problem that I have with it though is that there are sometimes a few stragglers that just have a trouble getting out. So the best way to deal with that is to go back in, grab a little bit of water, and then they'll just come right out. Super simple. If any of them get stuck in there for a long period of time, just put it back in a tank, let it sit. It really depends on how many you're planning on shipping. In my case, I'm shipping about 40 shrimp, and this trap actually got a little bit more, which is perfectly fine, just to deal with any possible DOA issues that could arise. In this case, as you can see, they're already attached to the plant that I put in there, which is fantastic. But let's go ahead and move on to the next step of actually bagging these shrimp. So for supplies in bagging your shrimp, you're only going to need a few things. First, you're going to need a breather bag. This bag is specifically meant to allow the transfer of oxygen and carbon dioxide through the bag itself. These bags are fantastic. They're a little bit more expensive, but they definitely guarantee more of a live shrimp on arrival, which is fantastic. Next, you're going to need some rubber bands, which we did talk about earlier in this video. Once you are ready to put your shrimp inside the bag, just make sure you've got a good grip on your bag and just dump them in. I mean, it's not really rocket science to this. In this particular case, I had a little bit more water than desired. Definitely going to want to put some of that back, which I did. The main reason why is that you need to have a little bit of space at the top so that when you twist the bag around, when you're sealing it with rubber band, you do actually have that space. And if you go straight to the top, you're definitely going to not have enough space. You're going to get water everywhere and everyone's going to be mad at you. Anyways, the next step here is going to be tying it off with a rubber band. It's really up to you how tight you want to be. In this case, I went with better safe than sorry, so I went as tight as possible. At this point, it's completely up to you whether you want a double bag or not. I would recommend it if you have the spare bags.
Okay, so what we've done so far is we've captured the shrimp. The shrimp are now inside the breather bag, which is exactly where they need to be, with a little bit of material for them to float on. The next thing that we have to do is get the box ready for shipment. So I have a few of these cold compressed bags that you can use for pain relief, but in my case, it's a cheap couple bucks. Allows me to keep them nice and cool in this hot Texas weather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate this, because it's a chemical it's chemically activated. Tape it to the top of my lid, and then we're going to go ahead and put the shrimp inside. So let's go ahead and get started. And that's really all there is to it. It's super simple, it's super cheap and easy. With a little DIY, you can get even cheaper. The whole goal of this is to get your shrimp to its destination in the best possible condition. That's good for you as a shrimp breeder. That's good for whoever you're selling it to or giving it to. It's good for them too. In this case, I have shipped those shrimp today. Those will be sent to Bare Necessities this guy, good friend of mine. Really excited to see if they show up in good condition. I hope so. But that being said, the cherry tank is gonna have a little bit of changes. Look for a short video in the coming week. I only normally post one video per week, but I need your guys' opinion on something, and it's gonna require your help. So that being said, my name's Aaron, this is Aaron's Aquatics. If you enjoy this video, hit that subscribe button. See you next time.